Welcoming a baby is one of life's greatest gifts. Here at Stoka, we make the second greatest gift so every parent can enjoy their first. Curate a one-of-a-kind baby registry with award-winning products such as the Trip Trap high chair, the unique Sleepy Oval mini crib, and iconic Explory stroller. Our products are designed to grow alongside your family and can be used from birth, but also transform as your child grows and develops. Stoka products are not only beautiful, but also are built with safety and sustainability at the forefront, providing parents a peace of mind and support for their greatest gift, their baby. To learn more, visit Stoka.com. You can use promo code REGISTER with Stoka at checkout for a free cushion with any high chair purchase. That's STOKKE.com, promo code REGISTER with Stoka. Here we grow.
A Million Other Choices is a true crime podcast, and as such, we do discuss some dark topics that might be triggering for some. As you are a true crime listener, I support you in your curiosity. However, having lost a family member to homicide, my message is always to remember not just the victims, but the families and friends left behind, and also the officers, detectives, and prosecutors that work tirelessly for justice. There are links to make monetary donations in the show notes, but more importantly, if you enjoy the podcast, please tell your friends and press that 5th star on your listening platform to help me grow the show. I hope you enjoy the following episode. Hello, and welcome to another special episode of A Million Other Choices. As always, I am your host, Kim. Do not fret, we are still going to talk about murder today. I know that's what you've come to expect from me, but today I want to talk about murder with my very special guest, Maria. You might have noticed, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, that I recently recommended Maria's YouTube channel, The Girl Who Said No. Now, this was not prearranged or anything like that. I have made the conscious choice, at least for now, not to be monetized in any way. It's too much work worrying about pleasing sponsors or affiliates and all that stuff. So I just love it too much as a hobby right now to make it feel like work. So if I recommend something, it's just because I find value in it, and I'm hoping that you might too. I just happened to stumble across her page on Instagram, and I absolutely love what she's doing. And it was really great timing because when I reached out to her, she just happened to be in the midst of launching her YouTube channel. So that worked out really great. So I just kind of sweet talked her into coming onto my podcast to discuss some stuff. And she was so kind enough to do that for me. So her and I sat down and discussed the topic of intimate partner homicide, because it's a topic that it comes up so much in the podcast episodes that I've covered. It just happens too often. And I think that it's so important that we all learn the signs to watch out for, whether it's for in our own relationships or our loved ones. I think it's so important to teach our young people what those signs are and how to watch for them. Now, I think that I know stuff, but I learned a lot from listening to Maria, and I think you will too. I did notice when I was editing for this that I didn't really sound all that excited when I first started talking with her, but I totally was. I get in my head, I get distracted by possible technical difficulties, so I just sounded distracted, but I am totally excited to be talking to Maria. And I have a feeling, at least I hope, that we're going to hear more from Maria on some future episodes, because she is just an absolute wealth of knowledge about just a ton of topics with regards to criminology, psychology. Her page is just filled with just incredible information, and I also just happen to love listening to her accent. I definitely want to have her back on and maybe talk about some specific cases that I've covered or that I want to cover, and just some other topics that come up that I think will be interesting. I think she'll probably have just a ton of really interesting information for us. So I definitely want to talk to her again. And just quickly, if you're not up to speed on the Chris Watts, Jodi Arias, or the Gabby Pinito cases, just quickly Google them as you listen, because they do come up, and we don't review the details of those cases. We just kind of got lost in the, one true crime girl talking to another. So you might want to just a quick catch up on those if you're not that familiar with them. Anyways, please enjoy Marie and I's discussion of a particular brand of homicide that just really gets me in the feels. Thank you so much for joining me today, because I'm really excited to be talking to you about both your Instagram page and then your new YouTube channel and what it is that you do. Just to give a little background, so you and I follow each other on Instagram, and so that's how I became aware of your page in particular. You share a lot of information on preventing becoming a victim of violence, and everything from like how to spot a narcissist to situational awareness and kids that maybe are going through the stages of sexual grooming. So I think what you're doing is brilliant and very helpful. And the information that you give is just so easy to remember, little digestible bits. You don't have to, read a big long book and get a psych degree and absorb a lot of information. Really like what you're doing.
Yeah, Kim, thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to your podcast. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to join you. Yes, exactly. You're saying exactly right things, because that was my main idea, my main point in the very beginning, to make something like this theoretical, huge studies, where you don't understand half of the words and you have to read this article for half of the day in order to extract some, valuable and practical information. So my idea was to make these articles more digestible, very easy, without needing to spend half of the day, just very quickly to give the practical tips to the people. So they are aware.
Both your Instagram and YouTube page is called The Girl Who Said No, and you spell no, Know. And I think that's such a great title, because knowledge is really power.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I really like it. Awareness.
Yeah, exactly. So what made you start your page? And has it been fairly recent? Like, how long have you been doing it?
I'm doing it since October. So now it's like February, actually the 5th month already. Somehow I think it's working. I mean, thank God it's moving.
Yeah, it seems to be growing really at a nice pace for you. Is it a big time commitment, or is this a lot of information that you kind of already had and now you can just you have an outlet for it?
No, actually I'm working toward 24/7 on it, like literally. It's my full-time commitment. I'm thinking at the moment what would be the best way to... And by the way, if you have any idea, I would be happy to hear.
Well, I think that you have enough information that you could do webinars where you're actually teaching some information to, whether it's young women or girls. Because one of the things that I noticed that at least where I am, we're lacking is programs and information that's available, say specifically to young people who are maybe in that 12, 13, 14 age range. There's nothing to really teach them about warning signs in relationship, how to break up with somebody in a safe way, building that ability to use your instincts.
This is definitely needed, but to be honest, I don't think I would want to earn on it, because I believe that this knowledge has to be shared for free, for sure, with everyone, because this is safety. This knowledge should be shared for free, I believe.
That's a great attitude to have about it, because you're right. Yeah, it is. It's about personal safety, and it shouldn't be, only people that can say afford to
Yeah,
get that
because exactly.
information.
I want to share the knowledge. Maybe if one of your listeners would get some idea, please
Sure.
get back to me. I would be happy to hear. What could I do? Maybe to make some safety device. Maybe anything like
Hmm.
that.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Those are some good ideas. Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
somebody out there has some ideas for you, especially once they see your page and see what you're trying to do. I think that they'll get behind that right away. As you know, from my podcast perspective, I of course am telling stories where it's a bit too late, unfortunately, for the victims, that they have, maybe didn't see some of those warning signs and they wound up dying as a result of it. And one of the big themes that I see in so many of the stories that I research and that I do is that too many times the victim knew their perpetrator, and that it was somebody that they knew and they trusted. Definitely domestic violence comes up a lot. We often see sexual violence. Maybe it's older men or women preying on young girls and boys, that kind of thing. So that's a little bit of what I'm hoping to talk to you about today. I myself was married many years ago to a narcissist. I didn't know at the time that he was a narcissist till after I left, and then it became all too clear. And then I sort of started to see the signs. So certainly if I had known some of those things beforehand, maybe I wouldn't have stayed as long. And of course, my niece was killed by her boyfriend. So then that's kind of why I started the podcast, was to just sort of tell victim stories and hope to prevent further tragedies. And that's hard to come up with advice for prevention when you yourself, like myself, I don't really understand that criminal mind. Do you have any tips or ideas on how to know if you are in a relationship that could potentially turn violent?
Yes. Do you mean if you are being with the person and you want to know it as if your friend is in this relationship?
Well, kind of
Right.
both. Like, I mean, I'd like to know for any of those listeners out there that are maybe in a situation where they don't know what signs they need to be looking for in their own partner. And then, of course, I get the question a lot is, well, what are you supposed to do? Or how do you know if someone that you love is in a relationship like that as well? So it's kind of a twofold question.
Okay, so maybe we could start by looking at the 8-stage progression to the intimate partner homicide, which was defined by Jane Monckton Smith. She has a very interesting paper, and actually she also wrote a book about that, where learn more about the stages. But basically, almost all the cases that led to the murder of the intimate partner, they followed this 8-stage progression, with the first stage being the pre-relationship, and the 8th stage is the last one. It's the actual homicide. So let's just maybe go through it and see how it's unfolding.
Sure.
So the first stage is the pre-relationship. That's where maybe two people, they know each other, but they are not in a relationship yet. And for sure, the potential murderer at this time presenting the best possible picture, of themselves. They only show very good qualities of themselves. They try to make a picture of the ideal mate. Absolutely. But at the same time, there might be this new person might hear from the previous partner about some problems, but usually, let's just for the purpose of our conversation, say that it's a man. Usually 80% of the victims of intimate partner homicide is the females, and 20% it's males. But just for the convenience of our conversation right now, let's say we will be talking about the victim being a woman. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
For example, this lady, she meets this guy, and he looks so cool. He's so smart. He has everything. He has his life in order, but he has this crazy ex. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Because this crazy ex is trying. Maybe they are dividing the time of the kid. Maybe they have problems, and this new potential mate keeps saying that oh no, she's this my ex, she's crazy. She had problems with like drugs, she had problems with sleeping pills, her mood is unstable. So he could say all these things,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be a very big mistake if the new this girl we're talking about, if she would believe that, because we always have to listen. We don't have to believe straight away, but we
Mm-hmm.
always have to pay attention if there are like any ex-partner of this person saying any complaints, or maybe there was a control, maybe there was abuse, maybe now the man is trying to manipulate with the kids. So
Yeah.
this is the first red flag. Like, we have to be very careful, never ignore it, never take straight away take the side of this man, because they will always look very innocent, very charming, very ideal. What they do is they study you from the very beginning. They study to learn all your vulnerabilities, to learn what you like, what you want in the man, for example, and the other way around. I mean, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
ladies would be studying what the man wants, create this ideal picture. For example, someone wants for the lady to cook, so she will become the best chef on earth,
Yeah.
she would like
Yeah.
start cooking like all sorts of things he likes. And in the case of the woman, also the man would be seeing like, what does she want? Does she want to laugh? Does she want to have a good time? Or it's very important for her to have someone who's very stable? Or is it important for her to have adventures? So wherever is it desired by this person, the future murder will create a fantastic picture. So
Mm-hmm.
usually you would be warning your friend, but is it okay that he's not so in a good terms with his ex, and they have
Mm-hmm.
like they talking so bad about her? Do you think it's okay? And
Yeah.
they would be like, oh no, for sure, it's she's so bad. They don't see, because what these people presented at that moment is only this ideal picture. So that's why it's hard, to
Yeah.
explain
It's
everything.
actually, that's really interesting you say that, because during my dating years, I saw that a lot with guys that would say, oh, yeah, like, because I would say, well, what's your relationship like with your ex-wife or whatever? Oh, she's a nightmare or whatever. So the partner that I'm with now, he said nothing but nice thing. Oh, she's a great lady. We have a good relationship. We're friends. And I thought, oh, perfect. Because yeah,
Yes,
I
this is a
see what
very
you're
good
saying.
sign. Exactly. Yes, this is a very good sign. But I think these guys, they have to talk bad about their exes. Why? Because she would appear eventually, especially if they have babies together. She would appear and she would maybe try to warn this
Mhm.
new lady. And so they need to make her look bad before they met. They
Yeah.
need to portray her like crazy so that the
Mhm.
new partner do not believe
Yep.
the previous one.
Yeah, that
So
makes
that's
total
why they
sense.
do it. Finally, for example, this lady we're talking about, she didn't listen to anyone. She likes this guy, and they start to seeing each other.
Mhm.
And so what happens usually in this 8-stage progression, what happens is they move in together very early on, or like the relationship develops so fast that even it could be like in a couple of months they already planning a wedding,
Mm.
and after 4 months they already maybe like started to have a baby. I don't know how
Yeah.
what it's called in English. Like the baby is already
Yeah.
on its way after 4 months. So like the relationship develops extremely fast, and usually the partner, which is the victim, they will be so smitten by the how
Mhm.
everything goes, and they will be thinking that this is the best thing that ever happened to them, and it moves so
Yeah.
fast because this is a real passionate love. They
Mhm.
think that that's what they were looking for their whole life.
So we would hear, like, so if it was, say, like a loved one of ours, we might hear them talking about that they finally met their soulmate and those kinds of things,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's why when people, their friends would be saying, oh, but are you sure you know this person well? Are you sure you want to have babies with them? Are you
Mhm.
sure you're ready for that? They will be like, yes, sure, for sure. Yes, 100%. This is what I was looking for my entire life.
Mhm.
The relationship moves on very, very quickly. The potential murder is starting to kind of like using possessive language, like you're mine, we're forever, we'll be together, forever and ever.
Creating that it's us against the world thing.
Exactly. And they will be very attentive, but this attentiveness would slowly progress, not maybe even slowly, maybe even fast, but it will progress to like possessiveness already.
Mhm.
So from beginning, they would like suggest to you something, for example, oh, why don't you choose this dress? But then eventually it will be like, no, this dress is not good for you, like this another one, you know?
Yeah.
So they start to more and more exert control in the relationship. Then it moves to the stage number 3, which is already a relationship. That's when the commitment already secured, because in the previous stage, the potential murderer, this man, what he tried to do is to make sure that this lady is already his. Also, at that moment, when the relationship progresses to the stage number 3, we also see a changes in the behavior of the lady, of the victim. We start to see that she may be, for example, as a friend, you would try to call her and be like, hey, let's meet and have a coffee. And she would always be, oh no, I'm busy, or oh no, we're doing that, or oh no, I can't. Why can't you? Oh no, well, we spend very little time together. And if that would be like the case, that's how she acts normally, then fine. But if before she would always see you, even if she's in a relationship, but
Mhm.
suddenly this relationship, she cannot see you, or she doesn't have time, or she seems to be he's controlling her time
Mhm.
completely. She has to ask almost the permission
Yeah.
to go see. Everything, her whole life starts slowly to be completely surrounded, depending on what are they doing with this person.
Mhm.
That's when on the stage number 3, the relationship, that's when the domestic abuse might start already, and stalking and all sorts of controlling behaviors, even to the extent of people could find spyware on their phones, or they could have hidden cameras in the house
Mhm.
to. Yes, even to that extent. Of course, it
Mhm.
depends from one case to another, but yes, this is also very much possible. That's when the partner might start to ask for the passwords from social media, start
Mhm.
checking the history, the web history, what the person was reading or watching, start to completely control all aspects of life.
Right. And
And
when you say abuse, I think it's important to distinguish that it doesn't necessarily mean he, in this case, has to start hitting the victim. It means like there's like the definition of abuse is quite broad, and can
yes,
include a lot of things. And like you said, the controlling behavior is abusive.
yes. Also, there is the coercive control, right?
Yeah,
Coercive control.
coercive. Yeah, yeah.
Coercive, yeah. So maybe it would be very, very good if your listeners would actually research a little bit about it, because coercive control is not necessarily physical. It's
Hmm.
just control by intimidation,
Hmm.
just by threats, not
Yeah. And what
or
about by
control.
guilt? Is that coercive control too, to use guilt, like to say like, oh, that's okay, I'll just stay here by myself, you go do, is
Yes, it's a manipulation. It's for sure an emotional manipulation. If it's aimed at control, and if it's like all the time manipulation of all sorts, it could be intimidation, could be threats, it could be anything.
Mhm.
It's an emotional abuse. Yeah. If it's what is the difference between manipulation and just a normal communication? Manipulation is always an act that is always aimed to bring advantage to the one who is doing it by the means of disadvantage to the other person.
Okay.
Yeah.
A parent's greatest gift is not a thing at all, it's their children. Stoka knows that nothing can ever come close to the gift of a child, so they make products to nurture, support, and celebrate them for years to come. Curate your baby registry with award-winning products such as the Trip Trap High Chair, the Oval Sleepy Crib, and the iconic Explory Stroller. These products can be used from birth and as your child grows and develops. Stoka products are beautiful and built with safety and sustainability at the forefront, providing parents peace of mind and support for their children. To learn more, visit Stoka.com. You can use the promo code REGISTERWITHSTOKA at checkout for a free cushion with any high chair purchase. That's STOKKE.com, promo code REGISTERWITHSTOKA. Here we grow.
So here, yes, if, for example, guilt is used because this person wants something and the victim, it's not to the advantage of the victim. So then, yes, it's manipulation, and it could amount to emotional abuse, basically. Mm-hmm. Also, at this stage, the potential murder demand the constant demonstrations of devotion and loyalty from the partner. Actually, this stage could last up until like 50 years. It might last the whole life if potential murder is maintaining control over the person. So if control is maintained, it could last. But I mean, of course, we can imagine that what kind of life the person would lead, under total control, and you just like never know what could happen. Like, for sure, it's not advisable. Absolutely not. Actually, I have a friend of mine, and she is in relationship with the man already for, I don't know, maybe 7 years. She was trying to leave many times, and now they have a baby, and they keep going back and forth between, like, I don't know, 3rd stage and 5th stage. 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5. They keep going back and forth. But now we will continue moving with the stages, so you will see that after like stage number 6, there is basically almost no return already. So, I mean, it's her choice. She knows.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part, is that there isn't a lot that you can really do.
Yes,
when they're going through that, because you can point it out all you want to, they have to see it for themselves. And so I think it's a matter of just helping them feel that empowerment and that the security in themselves to be able to see that this is not the way I want to live, or this isn't right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wish she could live, but I mean, what can we do? We can do nothing, right?
Yeah. And that's the sad part. So you're right. You got to try and catch it in the early stages and give them the information really early on. Because once they do get in there, and it really does become like, if you try to say anything negative about the person, they hold on even tighter almost.
Yes, and in the end, you become kind of like a enemy. You become the one who's trying to maybe intervene or something, because that's how user will do in this situation. If only they notice that you might be a threat to their relationship, that you're the voice of the common sense. Once they notice this and they start to consider your threat, they will do everything in their like possibility to get rid of you completely.
Mm-hmm. Well, you kind of become now the crazy ex, right? Oh, she's crazy. She's a psychopath. She's jealous. She's whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, she's jealous because you're so happy with me and we're so fantastic couple and everything is fine with us. And and then in the end, because it's called the gaslighting, and like you for sure know. Yeah. So when all these things start, the person is already lost. They're not sure whom can they trust. Can they trust their partner? Can they trust this friend of theirs? Can they completely get lost at that moment?
Yeah.
So I guess that would all go in the stage number 3, because that's the main like body of the relationship, from 2 months to 50 years or maybe more. Depends on how long people live.
Yeah.
Then it can go on and go on until there are some trigger or triggers happening. That's the stage number 4. And the trigger or triggers, it could be any event. It could be the victim decides that they had enough. They cannot take it anymore. They have to stand up from their knees and start to live a normal life like everyone else. Anything could affect this, like anything. Maybe a person read a book, or maybe there is like another person at work who started to, for example, a man started to showing signs of interest, and then the abuser noticed that. The day before yesterday, I read a few articles about the Chris Watts and Shannon Watts, because I got a question on my YouTube. I found that, yes, they had it also, that he changed at some point. Do you remember that she texted her friend, Shannon texted to her friend about that, oh, I texted Chris that she's going to protect her kids and she's the mother and she will just remove it. That's what she wrote. Yeah. She wrote it to Chris, and then she texted the same message to her friend, and she was like, oh, that's what I texted to Chris. And the friend went like, and so what he said? And she's like, nothing. I said, nothing? And she's like, yeah, nothing. I think that was one of the like trigger moments, because she threatened him. She said, I will remove it. Yeah. So for him, it was a trigger, because he realized that she could just like take the babies and escape completely. And that's it, because they had problems with his family, with his parents. Yeah. By the way, did you know that his mom wrote a book or like an essay?
She was not very kind to Shanann, like as far as the words she said about her and that, from my understanding.
Did you read it? Yeah.
No, I haven't read it. No.
I saw the comments on the Amazon, and everyone was saying there that, oh my goodness, she's just like bashing Shanann in this essay. And apparently she was the root of evil in this family, apparently. As Shanann wrote to Chris that your parents is like so bad, they affected my kids so bad, and so I will remove it, like I will remove my kids. And that's when the Chris flipped, one of the reasons. Also, I think at the same time he already had this the other girl,
the girlfriend.
The girlfriend. And also I found today information that they were using this patches, the patches. And yes, like today, I just took the couple of hours ago, I found this, that apparently they use these patches, which is for the weight loss, but he was, I guess, so kind of like obsessed with them that he was using double the dose per day.
Oh.
Yes, and his girlfriend, the girlfriend, Nicole, she told to law enforcement, to detectives, that apparently she thought that sometimes he looked like he's on speed. These drugs?
Yeah.
It could be also one of the, I mean, that's for sure not the reason why he killed his family, but could be that it helped him to, to completely go nuts.
Yeah, so we found out later after Dustin killed my niece Taylor that he had been using steroids.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of the things that you're talking about. We certainly saw it. I don't think we saw that it was going to go all the way to stage 8, but we definitely saw some of these signs and we were doing what we could, right? But she was,
and she didn't listen.
No, she actually tried to hide the relationship from us a lot and say that they weren't together when they really were, and because she knew we didn't approve.
And so you think that maybe one of the reasons that completely made him nuts is these steroids?
Well, he had been using steroids for a while because he was working as a male stripper. So he was into that whole fitness thing and that, but he was also a user of methamphetamines as well. That had turned into an addiction. So I think there was a lot going on with him, and they'd been both Taylor and his mom had been trying to get him into rehab. So we think that was maybe the trigger, was that threat of like, I'm going to have to go away to rehab and this will probably end the relationship. Yeah. So
it could be not even just one trigger. It might be something that people even would not see, because it might be something that they just imagine. For in the case of Travis Alexander and Jordi Arias, when I was watching her interrogation, at some point the detective tells her that actually they did not plan, the Travis Alexander and this other girl they communicated with from work or something. She said to him that they will not be together. So basically, she said that nothing was going on between Travis Alexander and this girl. And I saw a surprise in her eyes. Like she looked surprised, because I think the whole story happened because she thought that something is going on, and that they're going to travel together with Travis Alexander and all that stuff, like this Dava girl. And so now, after she killed him, she learns from detective that actually there was completely nothing. And you could see this tiny surprise in her eyes, and like you could see that she's realizing at this moment that all what she did was like for nothing.
The shoot moment.
Yes, exactly. So the trigger might be something is not even existent. It might be something that just in their brains, maybe they got jealous, maybe. So it could be anything, not necessarily even something that everyone would know about, This is what kind of also scary. Like you don't even know when the person would flip and from what,
Right. Like you could just be innocently talking to a coworker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then after this trigger moment or trigger moments, what's happening is this stage number 5, when this already after the trigger event had happened. And at that moment, the abuser tries to maintain control. So he is doing or she doing everything possible. They might start texting like every 2 seconds, every 2 minutes, and texting and calling, and they will be stalking you and checking whom are you meeting, if you have like a possibility to because they might even like completely put you in the house, for example. The stage number 5, as I said, is the escalation of everything. Escalation of abuse, escalation of control, frequency and severity and intimidation and threats, and they can even threaten the person to commit suicide. They can start manipulating the person, like, oh, I cannot live without you. I will do something. So they try all the possible techniques, all the possible manipulations in order to keep the control of the person.
Yeah, and I totally remember this from when I made the decision to leave my ex-husband. It did get, as they say, it gets worse before it gets better. And that was obviously the trigger. And he started with the calling constantly and the crying and the threats that I can't live without you and those kinds of things. It all started. This is kind of the time when it can get dangerous, is when you decide to leave. And that's why it's so important to have a safe plan for leaving in a safe way.
Exactly. Yes. And thank you for mentioning that, because it might be not only threats, it might be not only negative things, it could be also, I can't live without you, please, I love you so much, please come back, I will become an ideal person, I will do everything you want. And so it might be, I was actually surprised also yesterday when I was reviewing the Chris Watts situation, his case, and Shannon Watts. I found that apparently her last message to him was, I'm on the plane, we're taking off, which is already kind of like creepy, given that like she killed after a few hours. But what I was surprised of is that his message to her was, oh, thank God, praying for your safety. So can you imagine how fake person was the entire relationship, that up until the moment that he killed her, he was like praying for you?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like how much fakeness in this person is, that up, like he was playing his role up until he killed her. Not he not even, went to be in this intimidation kind of thing as we're talking now. He actually kept his mask up until like almost very end. With like, don't know what happened in the house, but like 4 hours before the murder, he texted her praying for your safety.
Yeah. He's a
Oh my
sister lover.
goodness.
Yeah.
So whatever this person tells you or your friend, that I will change, everything will change, I will become an ideal angel person, or the opposite, they try to intimidate or anything, it's, of course, it's already means that the person has to think of the safe escape. Also, as you very correctly mentioned, it should be extremely safe from the person in this relationship. There should be no impulsive or reckless decisions. So for example, you don't go packing your bag in the middle of the night and be like, no, that's it, I'm leaving, because this person would realize that that's it, they lost control completely. If they will see that the person is packing their bag in the middle of the night and is about to leave, that's when the stage number 6 is going to happen. And that's a change in thinking. That's when the abuser realizes that unfortunately his attempts to maintain control is failing, and he cannot keep this person. And so he decides, okay, if I cannot keep her, then I will like revenge to her, or I will like, she will not be with any other person. That's when they completely decide, okay, if I cannot have her, then no one will.
Yeah.
And from here, that's already the person should start praying like right at this moment.
I actually saw the change in thinking in my ex-husband, like literally on the phone with him. And he was doing the crying and the, I can't live without you. And I said, like, no, like I cannot say it enough. I am not coming back home. And his demeanor and everything on the phone just changed. And he basically said, well, then from this moment forward, I hate you or whatever. And then he talked a little bit more, and then his demeanor changed again and became like, you know what? I think we should just go for a drive sometime, just you and I, and talk about it. And I don't know, I guess it was instinct. I just knew, I'm like, that's not right. And I was never alone in a room with him ever after that, because you could see that change, that I was like now an enemy. So I really think that if I'd have decided, oh, okay, let's go for a drive, I don't think I'd be here.
Yes, I just had the shivers. Can you imagine when you said to me about the drive? I my hands, So yeah, thank God you didn't go. Oh my goodness, yeah, because that's exactly. So maybe also that's now what you're doing, this podcast. So maybe you could warn other, like this experience happened to you, so you could now warn others of that, and maybe. Maybe now that we're talking, and some listeners, they would hear your experience and maybe some my thoughts, and maybe it will help them or their friends. So we never know. I mean, why we have certain experiences.
That's the hope, anyways. That something gets through to one person even is helpful.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So thank God you didn't go for a ride, because that's like, oh my goodness. Thank God you didn't go, because after the stage number 6, that was a change in thinking. Once it occurs, the person decides, okay, I'm gonna crash this person. And then the stage number 7, planning, starts. But what's interesting is this stage can be like as quick as 2 hours, as short as 2 hours. It could be very, very fast. When it happens that the stage number 4, which is trigger, and escalation, number 5 and 6 happens very fast, and 7 also, like when between the trigger and the homicide, when it happens like very, very fast. For example, this victim receives in the middle of the night, receives the message from a person from work. And then the abuser decides that this message was like too personal or threatening their relationship. So that's the stage number 4. And then escalation started, the fight is happening, and then the victim is saying, oh no, that's it, I'm done with you, that's too much, I can't tolerate this relationship anymore, and packs the bag in the middle of the night. Then the abuser could decide in just like 1 hour that no, you're not leaving, you're not going to this co-worker. Well, that's what they think, at least in their head. Yeah. So that's when the murder could occur, and then it's going to look like it's a crime of passion. But actually it went through all the stages.
Yeah.
It actually did go through all the stages, was like very, very fast. It would look like it was just like sudden.
Yeah.
The stages, they are there, and they might last longer, they might be shorter, but they're usually all there. For example, if the person is more kind of less impulsive and more calculated, then they can start exactly searching on the internet, for example, poisons, or they might plan how could they pull this whole thing out, like how could they do this. At this moment, they can also try to arrange the papers.
So this could be a stage where they're changing life insurance, or they're like,
For example,
that would be like a long planning stage, or it could be as short as just grabbing a knife from a kitchen.
Yes, but before that, the change in thinking occurs. Right. So this is also after the stage number 6. It's already very, very. If the person is close by in the proximity here, then there is a very, very high chance that there would be something happening. So again, as in your case, that where the person, your ex, told you, okay, let's have a ride, that was like literally, thank God you're safe and everything is okay. Maybe then he changed his mind. He's like, okay, later on, where when he saw that he cannot do anything to you, but if at that moment you would go, then yeah, probably it would not end in a good situation. And also on the stage number 7, that's when they might say, okay, it's fine, if you want to leave me, but let's spend 1 more day together. Let's go to the sea, let's be like normal people, let's have a dinner together and discuss what we're going to do about our kids. In any way, they try to keep the person.
Yeah, they just give them one last opportunity really to have access to you.
Yes, they want to have you alone, without your friends, without your family with you. They might say, okay, if you want to pick up your clothes, come to pick it up, but no, come alone. No, don't bring your brother with you. It could be anything. It might be in a threatening manner. It might be in a good manner. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What the potential victim should never listen to is this. Never, ever, under no circumstances, the person who was in this type of relationship and trying to leave should never listen to this abuser. Never, ever, because that's literally, it's like a Russian roulette. It's too dangerous. So even if it's possible, best even not to see the person at all, if it's possible. Also, the stage number 8, the actual homicide, it doesn't have to be an obvious murder. I was talking to a person, and she said to me that her ex actually, like when she was feeling so bad and she was extremely depressed. I'm sorry, I hope she will not be upset that I'm telling her story, but I'm not mentioning the name. So I think people should know that would be the case. So the guy basically, when she was already completely destroyed emotionally, what he did, he tried to put a lot of sleeping pills in her mouth.
Oh my God.
And when she was like all after crying for 10 hours.
Sure, yeah. Wow.
He thought probably that she is already not able to think for herself. I think he thought that she's already not normal. And so she could not comprehend the fact that he put in her mouth, like, I don't know, 10 sleeping pills, and he left.
Wow.
But Yes, but she was smart enough. Even though she was like after the hospital, and she was in a horrible condition, but she figured what happened, and she actually took out. She pretended that she took these pills, and he left immediately. He probably thought that, thank God it didn't happen, thank God, but he probably thought that if she would die from these pills, then it would look like a suicide.
Yeah.
Because she was so depressed, and it's just normal that she took all this like 10 pills. Many people, like not many people, but I mean, people do that. So, and that's why he left straight away. He left immediately because not to be seen around. So thank God she understood what was going on, and she took out these pills, and that's it. And thank God she's alive, and she's happy. She's married now, and everything is super good with her.
Good.
But imagine this murder doesn't have to be like a murder with a knife or a gun. It could be things like trying to give drugs which is not clean, So to make it look like an overdose, or to make it look like a suicide, or it might be even looking like that they had some game and that the game went wrong. It might
the
be
rough
concealed.
sex that goes wrong. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it doesn't have to be exactly looking like a crime scene. It might look just, oh, I'm innocent. No, I didn't do anything. It's just like we had fun, or we took drugs together and it was too much for her. It doesn't have to be exactly like looking like a murder like we imagine it.
Yeah.
When people in this type of the relationship, they might be thinking, oh no, the person I'm seeing, he would never be able to take a knife or a gun and kill me. Yes, maybe this person would not be able to take a gun or a knife, but they will be able to pick up sleeping pills, or things that doesn't have to, or for example, mix some things like an alcohol and sleeping pills or poison. I've read interesting cases of poison being brought from India by a woman to UK, and she cooked the chicken to her ex, and she was like, oh, this is just take the food, and she poisoned the guy.
Jeez.
That's it.
Yeah, I've heard that women are more likely to poison than men. Women, when we kill, I guess we like a hands-off kind of approach.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't. Okay, maybe the person would not take a knife or a gun, but there are so many ways to do that you don't have to. I mean, it can look very differently. That's what I meant.
Well, and there's also the murder-suicide, right? Like I can't live without you, so I'm going to take myself out, but I'm going to take you with me.
Yeah,
those can happen, and even just like in the stage 3 and 4, like a fight can get out of hand, and you can get pushed and knocked against a coffee table, and it can, like something like that can kill you.
Yes, yeah,
and then you don't even get to the stage. So I think that it's such an important topic. It happens too many times, and there's so many women that are in these situations that maybe don't know that they're even in it. And
yes,
really, I mean, what Taylor's story has taught us is that it can happen to anybody. It really can. You think that it can't happen to you or in your family, but it can.
Exactly. And also what I noticed, like, so sometimes I like maybe even envy these people who live in their rose glasses, because they think life is wonderful and everyone is like so kind, and there are no dangers out there and everything is so good, Sometimes I envy this naivety, but fact is there are a whole bunch of evil people on this planet. All these evil people, very small percentage of them actually look like evil, because the majority of these evil people actually look extremely nice. Even this Ted Bundy said, like, we are like serial killers, we are your like brothers, sons, we're your
Yeah.
So that's what people don't realize. Actually, they have to be very much careful, especially in the beginning of the relationship. Also, I saw Shannon in her Facebook Live. She has like a 40 or 30-minute Facebook Live. She's mentioning there, she's like, oh, well, the people who know my story with Chris, they know that I was like pushing away Chris so hard in the beginning, and I was like torturing him. That's what she said, literally. She's like, pushed him, but he was like insistent. And I thought at that moment, this is, I think, a bit suspicious dynamic when man being pushed away for so long and even tortured, and he still insists. I think this is kind of like a woman should be alarmed by the fact that she has this person, because it's borderline with stalking, you know?
Yeah, no
Like,
is a complete sentence. You should be able to say no and not be met rage and anger for rejecting somebody.
Yes, exactly. And I think usually men would pursue a bit more and try and see if there is interest. But if there are no interest shown by the woman, then most of the men would be like, okay, so she's not interested. But apparently in her case, that's what she says in her Facebook live video, that he kept pursuing her for so long that eventually she gave up. I thought that also this should be like a warning sign that love bombing you and pursuing you and pursuing you.
I like that term, love bumping.
Yes, but I think it's sort of like even an official term that means that the person would be texting to you every day and be like, let's meet. So basically they don't give you a chance to stay alone. Like they completely surround you in this bubble of love.
Well, I think that's the part that I feel is so manipulative about sometimes these relationships, is that some of what they're doing, even if it's the calling all the time, and that it can look like it's disguised as love and caring, right? Like, oh, he just loves me so much. He wants to spend all his time with me. And it's a dangerous, especially they of course, they seem to pick victims, whether it's men or women, that maybe already feel a little bit of insecure and are looking for that.
First of all, they notice if the person has any insecurities, for sure. But also what I noticed, they really, really look for kind and empathetic people. They really prey on them because these people have so much to offer. They offer so much attention, and they are literally after all these good and kind people. And that's what I think about the Shannon, because she appears on the videos as a very kind and very empathetic woman.
Yeah, well, they're like food for the narcissist, right?
Yes, that's the favorite prey, you know? That's exactly the favorite prey. And especially if they are, because they also love a chase. That's what they do. They love a chase. So they are getting even more like interested in you. If you're like, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm busy. I'm wherever. They get in even more because that's a game for them. These things should warn the person in the beginning, be it man or woman. Yes, exactly. Doesn't matter. If you've been already saying 10 times that no, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I don't want, I'm wherever your excuse is, but the person keep insisting, of course you would want to think like, oh, that's so flattering, I'm so interested apparently that this person is trying so hard to get my attention. But hard reality fact is that it doesn't have to do anything about you being so fantastic. It's just a very toxic person trying to win in a game that they are playing. For them, it's fun. For normal human beings, it's a very dangerous game. It's better not to play it.
Yeah, no, for sure. When I was looking through your page, I saw you had just some of your tips are just so great, but there was one about spotting a psychopath and how when you yawn, they don't yawn in return. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't know that. And that is such a great little memorable tip that you can take with you if you're like, I don't know, out at a party or something and you meet new people. Just notice those little tiny things about about people can maybe tell you like, oh, there's a person that I maybe should avoid.
Yes, but also don't be tricked. I mean, for example, if they assume you being smart enough to know about this trick, they might start yawning in front of you. If they are completely blind and think that you do not see who they are, then you can see this. You can see if they yawn or not. But if, for example, they suspect that you are kind of like perspicacious and you kind of like see from them, then they will start yawning and they will start do all these things that they believe regular people do. So yeah, it's like, I mean, you could try to spot it, but sometimes that's why it's so hard for many like forensic psychologists, for example, to put a diagnosis, because they are so manipulative that they would be lying to you. Like, I'm not a forensic psychologist, but I mean, generally, like they would be lying all the time. You can never trust their word. Like, and they are very manipulative. You need to think with them 10 steps ahead if you want just to be equal with them, equal in a sense that they don't win anything from you. You have to think 10 steps ahead, kind of, because otherwise they will trick you.
Do you have any statistics on hand about how, like, what percentage of the people have I don't know if it's psychopathic or narcissist, whatever it is, that thing in them that...
I've seen some statistics before, but usually it goes between like 1% and 4%. So in the big cities, for example, there are like more of them living. In the small cities, maybe there are less. So I think that would actually hard to calculate the real percentage. But what I've seen, I mean, because it would be natural that I think in like sociopaths or psychopaths or narcissists or any of these destructive people, because they are suffering from boredom, constant boredom, it's natural for them to move to the big cities, for example, because there are like more entertainment, and for sure you will find even more of them in the places like Los Angeles or New York, the places where, like Washington, or the places where you have a lot of opportunities, you know, to develop a career and all that. What I've seen is like, they say that psychopaths is around 1%, and all this antisocial personality disorder and I think narcissist and all that, it's like 4%. So,
but still, if you take the world population, even 1%, that's a lot of people.
Yes, yeah. And what's important to remember is that they don't see like crazy, right? They look normal. They just look normal. They look like this guy working in the shop next door, or maybe it's your neighbor, or maybe it's the people around you. It's not some obviously crazy people. By the way, what I wanted to say, very important. Do you remember the moment where Gabby Petito had a fight with your boyfriend, ex-boyfriend? That's when there was a police and they were in the middle of the road. Yeah. So in this fight, do you remember that she was like crying and she was like literally dramatic, and he was like very calm. And so what is important to remember, that although it appears that she's hysterical and he's a calm and balanced person, this should not trick anyone, because that's how usually the dynamics go. Like the person who's being the victim, that's how they usually look like. They look very hysterical, dramatic to the outsiders, to the people who don't know what's going on, what's the dynamics. And the abuser actually looking like the most calm and saint person out there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's funny you say that, because I remember when I was going through my divorce, I had to go into like a mediation, and I went in first, and it was a woman, and I came in, and she started asking me some questions, and I started like crying, and I'm like, I'm sorry, he makes me feel like I'm going crazy, and like I'm the crazy one or whatever. And when he walked in, he came in and he said, I just don't know what all this is about. I just don't, like, I'm really worried about her mental health. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was total
Mhm.
gaslighting. And I thought, yeah, like that's what they do. They come off looking like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, clearly she's spiraling.
Exactly.
Frustrating.
So it's not a psychologist, it's like a legal person, yeah?
Yeah, no, it was more a legal person. And I'm sure she thought I was the nutty one until he started speaking a little bit more. And then some of the, some of his, I think she started to see that he was being manipulative or whatever. Thank God. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Because usually like maybe the therapist, the psychologist, they would for sure see this dynamic. But from the outside, for the people who's not aware this whole abusive relationship, coercive control thing,
yeah.
like how these dynamics go, it might appear that actually the things are other way around, and then that this crying person is the one who makes all the drama, and they are unstable, and
Mhm.
the calm person is being the victim because look at them, they did nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I thought
this is
that
also
actually when I was watching
Mhm.
that footage, I thought, oh, you creep. Like, this
Exactly.
poor girl. Yeah.
So this is very much important to remember when assessing, like if you see your friend is like crying all the time and being hysterical, no, don't think that it's the friend have problems, or a friend maybe needs some vacation or anything like
Yeah.
this. No, it's actually the other person is driving them crazy.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing that information with us.
Thank you for
I,
inviting
I really
me.
think it's going to be helpful to so many people just to hear that. I think you laid out those stages really clearly of like what they look like, so that you can actually see it as it unfolds. So I think that your page and your YouTube videos, which I've started watching and I did subscribe to them, they're great so far.
Thank you.
I love the information, and I love what you're doing, and the fact that you really want to make sure that it's out there for free is fantastic, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to spread the knowledge, and definitely, I mean, if any of the listeners would like to get more details and more science, I have more of it available on my Instagram and also on my YouTube. So I'd be happy to see you.
Yeah,
And
and again, so that's The Girl Who Said No, and you have to spell no, KNOW.
yeah, knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge. Knowledge is power. Thank you, Maria. You are the very bestest. Thank you for teaching us some things, and hopefully we can use the information, whether you're maybe on Tinder right now or you know someone who you suspect might be in one of these stages that we talked about. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm sure we're going to hear from Maria again. And I am going to be back on Monday for our regularly scheduled program. In the meantime, do your rates, reviews, follows, etc., etc. And thank you for listening.